You'd do it. That's the part nobody warns you about. Someone you're not related to, no shared blood, no shared name, nothing a biology textbook would call an obligation, calls you at the worst possible hour, and you go. You'd lend the money you don't have. You'd lie for them, a little. You'd stand between them and something dangerous without running the math first. And if you're a machine built by evolution to do exactly one thing, survive, copy your genes, pass them on, that should not happen. It makes no sense for the animal you are. Stay with me because this is the strange one. Most of what your body does, you can explain in a hard, almost cold way. You eat because starving kills you. You flinch from the dark because something in the dark used to eat your ancestors. You love your children because the ones who didn't love theirs left no children to inherit the not caring. All of that is brutal, tidy arithmetic. Genes protecting copies of themselves. It's not romantic, but it computes. Friendship doesn't compute. Not like that. The friend isn't your child. The friend doesn't carry your genes into the future. By the cold logic, the same logic that built your hunger and your fear, caring about that person is a leak. It's spending precious calories, precious time, precious risk on someone whose survival does nothing for your bloodline. A truly ruthless survival machine would feel nothing for them, would let them fall behind, would not go at the worst possible hour. And yet here you are, knowing you'd go. So either evolution made a sloppy mistake that somehow every human culture on Earth shares, every single one from the Arctic to the Kalahari, all of them keeping friends, or we've got the whole thing backwards. Either this warm, illogical thing is a glitch the ruthless process forgot to delete, or it was never a glitch at all. Maybe it's one of the most lethal pieces of survival equipment our species ever evolved, and it just happens to feel like warmth from the inside. I'm going to argue the second one, and I'm going to argue it not with a poem, but with bones. With the actual archaeological and anthropological record, healed fractures, shared meat, the graves people dug for each other tens of thousands of years ago. Because the thing you call friendship, the thing that feels soft and optional and nice, has a body count standing behind it. A long one. The humans who couldn't do it are not your ancestors. They didn't get to be anybody's ancestors. Here's the claim I want to plant now, and I'll only say it straight twice. Once here, once at the very end, and everything in between is going to be evidence dragging us toward it. Friendship isn't a luxury evolution put up with. It looks like one. It feels like one. It is the opposite of one. For a slow, weak, clawless animal wandering a world full of faster, stronger, hungrier things, the deadliest threat was almost never the lion. It was being alone. And the feeling you get when a friend who isn't family walks into the room, that little drop of the shoulders that's handled feeling, is the inheritance of a very long line of people for whom an ally was, very literally, the difference between eating and starving. Between a broken leg, meaning you rest for 6 weeks, or it meaning you die where you fell. But to believe that, you have to believe the setup. You have to believe that a single human out there on their own was in real trouble. Not lonely, sad trouble. Dead trouble. And that's the part modern life has quietly hidden from you. You have walls. You have a locked door, a phone, a shop down the road full of food you did nothing to catch. You can be alone for a week, and your biggest risk is boredom. So when I say a lone human in the ancestral world died fast, it sounds like drama. It sounds like I'm overselling. I'm not. If anything, the truth is worse, and it's the first thing the record makes brutally clear. So let's go back, all the way back, and answer the question this whole thing actually turns on. Not did they have friends? That's too soft, too modern. The real question, the one the bones are quietly screaming, is darker than that. Out there, in that world, what exactly happened to the human who had no one? Picture the band, not a tribe, not a village. Those come much later. A band. Roughly the size of a wedding you didn't really want to attend. Anthropologists studying mobile hunter-gatherers, the Hadza of Tanzania, the Ju hoansi of the Kalahari, the closest living windows we have onto how humans lived for most of our existence, keep landing on the same rough number, 20 to 50 people. Some kin, some not. That was the whole world. That was everyone you would ever eat with, fight beside, sleep near, and bury. Now strip a person out of it. One human, alone on the landscape. And here's the obvious answer first, the one that feels right. A healthy adult human is tough. We can walk for days. We sweat, so we don't overheat. Researchers studying persistence hunting, one hypothesis for how early humans ran down large prey, point out that our endurance, not our speed, may have been the weapon. Surely one fit human could make it solo for a while. No. That's the comfortable lie, and the actual conditions break it on contact. Run the day honestly. Water before you get too weak to look for water. Food every day with no backup when today's hunt fails. And sleep? Sleep is the trap. The moment you close your eyes, nobody is watching the dark. A group posts a guard without thinking. A lone human is a buffet on a timer. These aren't dramatic dangers. They're arithmetic. The real killer is small. One twisted ankle on a rock. One fever from bad water. One cut that goes hot and red at the edges. In a group, that's a few bad days while others carry you. Alone, a sprained ankle is a death sentence with a slow countdown. You can't reach water, can't move away from what's tracking you, can't do anything but lie there and lose. The lone human doesn't usually die in one dramatic, lion-shaped moment. They die because the margin, the buffer between a minor problem and a fatal one, was never inside them. The margin was the other people, so the group wasn't a nice-to-have. The group was the organ you survived with, the way a heart is. And that reframes everything about us, because we are deeply, structurally strange in how far we took it. Most animals cooperate with kin. A lioness hunts with her sisters. The math is genes helping genes, and it's the same cold arithmetic as before. What humans do is different in kind, not just in degree. We routinely raise children that aren't ours. Anthropologists call it cooperative breeding, and the human version is extreme. In forager camps, a baby is held, fed, and minded by aunts, friends, older kids, the unrelated woman 3 huts over. One scholar's phrase for our species sticks: we're the ape that needs a village. Not as a slogan, as a spec sheet. A human child is so absurdly expensive, so slow to grow, so helpless for so long, that a lone mother and father, unhelped, will very often fail. We are built from the womb out to require people beyond our blood. And that's the thing the cold logic can't explain away. You could imagine evolution stopping at the family. Help your kin, ignore the rest. Done. Plenty of species live exactly there. We didn't. We crossed the line into trusting, feeding, defending, and grieving for people who share none of our genes. And we did it so thoroughly that doing it now feels like the most natural thing in the world. Skeptical? Good. Voice it. Maybe that's just modern softness, surplus kindness we can afford because the supermarket has our back. Maybe ancient humans were ruthless little transaction machines, and the warmth is a recent invention. It's a fair objection. It's also wrong, and the dirt proves it wrong, but not yet. Because if the group was survival itself, then a brutal question opens underneath it, and it's the one that runs the rest of this. Belonging wasn't free. A band of 50 couldn't carry dead weight forever. Every mouth had a cost. So getting born into the group got you nothing permanent. You had to be worth keeping. The question that decided whether you lived wasn't whether you were strong. It was quieter and far more dangerous than that. Out of everyone in that camp, what made you the one they chose not to leave behind? Strength wasn't the answer. That's the first surprise. You'd assume the strongest hunter sat safest, biggest provider, hardest to lose. But watch how foragers actually talk about each other, and a different currency shows up, one you can't lift or throw. They talk about who shares, who stays calm when everyone else is panicking, who keeps their word when keeping it costs them, who's good to be around at the end of a bad day. In a band, that wasn't personality trivia. That was your survival rating, and everyone was quietly keeping score. Think about what the group actually needed to function. Not raw muscle, they had enough muscle. They needed to know who they could count on when it mattered, because the whole system ran on trust extended in advance. Reputation was the ledger. And in a world of 50 people with no writing, no police, no contracts, your reputation was the only thing standing between you and being quietly, fatally left out. There's a piece of anthropology here that sounds like a joke and isn't. Researchers studying the Agta, a hunter-gatherer people in the Philippines, looked at who got valued in camp, and storytellers ranked at the top, above some of the best hunters. The people who could hold a fire-lit circle, who could make the night feel less like a threat and more like a home, were named again and again as the ones others most wanted to live with. And the part that stops you cold, those prized storytellers, on average, had more surviving children. The study, published in Nature Communications in 2017, put the difference at roughly half a child more per storyteller. Being good company was not decoration on top of survival. It fed directly back into the one currency evolution actually counts. Genes carried into the next generation, so yes, being funny around the fire was, statistically, a reproductive strategy. The class clown was running ancient code. The person who could turn a tense, hungry camp into a laughing one was doing something the group needed as badly as meat, holding it together. Humor and a good story read as signals. This person is sharp, this person is stable, this person makes the unit stronger. Not a frivolity, an asset with a payoff measured in living descendants. But the deepest layer isn't laughter, it's food, and the strange way foragers move it around. Watch a successful hunter come back to a Hadza or Ju / hoansi camp with a big kill, and here's what doesn't happen. He doesn't keep it, hoard it, eat his fill, and guard the rest. The meat gets shared out widely, often to people who brought in nothing that day. To a modern eye that looks like generosity, even charity, it isn't. It's the oldest insurance policy on Earth. Here's the mechanism, because the mechanism is everything. Hunting is wildly unreliable. The best hunter alive comes home empty most days. The antelope runs, the trap stays sprung on nothing. If every family ate only what it personally caught, everyone would ride a violent seesaw of feast and starve, and starvation kills on the down weeks. But share the meat across the whole camp, and the seesaw flattens. My lucky day covers your empty one. Next month, when my spear finds nothing, your kill feeds my kids. The original social safety net was a guy handing you half his antelope, because last week you handed him half of yours. That's reciprocity, and it's the steel skeleton under everything we're calling friendship. It only works on trust extended across time. You give today with no contract, betting the other person remembers and pays back later. Which means the entire system selects, hard, for a specific kind of human, the one who shares, who reciprocates, who can be relied on to remember a debt. The cheater who takes and never gives gets read fast, and in a band of 50, getting read as a taker is catastrophic. Trust withdrawn is the safety net withdrawn. Being disliked wasn't a social bruise, it was exposure. Picture the real exam evolution was running. Not are you strong? Are you generous? Are you steady? Are you worth feeding on the day you bring nothing home? Pass it, and the group keeps you. Fail it, and you drift to the edge, and the edge is where the lone human dies. It's a clean story. Almost too clean, and a skeptic should feel the gap in it. Everything I've described still works as cold accounting. Trade, ledgers, insurance, payback. None of it actually requires anyone to care. You could build all of it out of pure self-interest and never once feel a thing for the person across the fire. So here's the question the whole video has been walking toward, the one I've been refusing to answer until now. Is there any hard proof, not poetry, not a hopeful guess, but something solid you can hold in your hand, that these people felt for each other at all? There is, and it's not written down, it's in the bones. Bones heal. That's the whole key, and it's so simple, it's easy to walk past. When you break a major bone, a femur, a hip, the kind of break that drops you where you stand, the bone can knit back together. But it takes weeks, often months. And during those weeks, the broken person can't walk, can't hunt, can't flee, can't fetch their own water, can't do a single thing the band needs done. They are, in the cold accounting of the last 10 minutes, pure cost. A mouth that takes and returns nothing. Now here is what paleopathologists, the people who read injury and disease in ancient skeletons, keep pulling out of the ground. Healed fractures, serious ones, bones that were shattered and then unmistakably mended. Which means the person didn't die when they went down. Someone fed them through it. Someone brought them water. Someone stayed close enough to keep predators off a body that couldn't defend itself, for weeks, for months, with nothing coming back in return. The break is the wound. The healing is the proof, not of medicine, but of someone choosing to keep a person who, by every ruthless rule we started with, should have been left behind. And it goes further than broken legs. The record holds individuals who survived long stretches with conditions that made them dependent, people who lost teeth and lived on, in a world with no soft food, which means others were processing their meals. People who endured severe illness or disability for years. Each one is a small, silent contradiction of the idea that early humans were lean little survival machines that cut their losses. Over and over, they didn't cut the loss, they carried it. The fingerprint of real bonds isn't in a tool or a weapon. It's in the skeleton of someone who lived years past the day they stopped being useful. This is the clue the whole thing turned on, and notice what it does. Reciprocity, the meat sharing, the I owe you, you owe me, could explain helping someone who'll recover and pay you back. But some of these people were never going to pay anyone back. The very old, the permanently broken. There's no ledger entry that makes feeding them for years come out positive. And they were fed anyway. That's the moment the cold accounting runs out of road. Something was operating past transaction. Call it what the body calls it, attachment. Care that doesn't check the math first. It even has a likely home, a place this could deepen. Once our ancestors controlled fire, the night stopped being purely a threat and became, for a few hours, a room. Daylight is for work, hunting, foraging, the hard business of not dying. But after dark, around a fire, there was suddenly time that wasn't for anything. Time to talk. To tell the stories that made the Agta storyteller worth more than a hunter. To know each other as something past useful. Some researchers think those firelit hours did real evolutionary work, that the bonds holding a band together were partly forged in the dark, in conversation, in the simple, unhurried fact of faces you trusted lit orange against everything outside the circle. So sit with what the bones are actually telling you. The friend you drop everything for, the one from the start of this, the one you'd go to at the worst hour, you are not being sentimental when you do that. You are running very, very old code. The exact instinct that made one of our ancestors haul water to a person who couldn't stand is the instinct firing when your phone lights up with the wrong name at 3 a.m. And you're already reaching for your keys. It feels like a choice. It's closer to an inheritance. You care because you descend from a line of people who cared, and the ones who didn't left no line at all. Which leaves one last thing, and it's the heaviest. We've proven they helped each other live. We've found the bones that show care, while the heart was still beating. But there's a colder, more final test of whether these were friends in the way you mean the word friends, not just useful allies. Helping someone survive can still be self-interest playing a long game. There's only one thing that can't. What did they do when the helping was over, when the person was gone, past all use, past all payback, and there was nothing left to gain by caring? What did they do with the body? They dug. That's the answer, and you have to feel how strange it is before you let it go soft on you. A corpse returns nothing. Once a person is dead, every cold rule we've been running says, walk away. The body is spent fuel. It can't hunt, can't share, can't pay a debt, and tending it costs you effort the living need. The ruthless move, the pure survival move, is to leave it where it lies. And instead, again and again, deep into the record, our ancestors stopped. They cleared a space. They placed the body, not dropped, placed, arranged with intention, and sometimes they laid two together, and sometimes they put things in the ground with the dead that the living could have used. I want to be careful here, because this is exactly where it's tempting to oversell. You'll hear specific famous burials described as proof of love, of friendship, of grief, and read case by case. Those claims get argued hard. Was that really a deliberate flower-strewn grave, or pollen blown in by chance? Was this pair laid together on purpose, or just buried near each other? The honest answer is that individual sites are debated, and anyone selling you certainty about one particular grave is selling. But step back from any single case, and the pattern itself is solid, and the pattern is what matters. Intentional, careful burial of the dead is ancient, and it is widespread, and it is not what an animal does when a body is just garbage. You bury someone with care because that someone mattered after they stopped being useful. The care is the whole signal. The care is the point. Which is the last brick, and now I'll say the thing straight, the same thing from the start, all the way earned now instead of just claimed. Friendship was never the soft luxury it feels like from inside a warm, safe, modern life. It was survival technology. For a slow, weak, clawless animal in a world of faster and hungrier things, the deadliest threat was almost never the predator. It was being alone, and the lone human died fast. So the ones who could build trust past blood, share the meat, keep the promise, stay good company in the dark, be the kind of person others chose not to leave behind, those ones out-survived the ones who couldn't. The warmth you feel when a friend who isn't family walks into the room is the inheritance of a line of people for whom an ally was the difference between eating and starving, between a broken leg meaning 6 weeks of rest or death where you fell. You don't make friends because it's nice. You make friends because every human who couldn't, didn't make it. And so isn't anybody's ancestor, and so isn't here. Go back to the start. That person you'd go to at the worst hour, no math, no hesitation, keys already in your hand. At the beginning that looked like a glitch, a leak in the survival machine. The one thing about you that didn't compute. Look at it now. It's not the leak. It might be the most finely built thing you've got. Thousands of generations of people choosing to haul water to the helpless, share the kill on the empty day, and dig a careful grave for someone who could never thank them. All of it funnels down and lands as a single quiet feeling in your chest, the one that says, go. You are the surviving end of a line of humans who lived because someone chose to keep them. And now you're the someone, doing the choosing. So before you close this, who's your 3 a.m. name? The one you'd go to without checking the cost? You don't have to tell me. Just notice that the going without checking is the oldest, most human thing you will ever do. If sitting with that did something to you, that's the channel. We dig up where your warmest, strangest instincts actually come from, and there's a new one every week. Stick around. Someone, a very long time ago, would have wanted you in their band.